everybody. Welcome to another edition of Weddings Done Right Radio, the how-to for the I Do. I am your host, Jody Harris, the CEO of Fun from Sight and Sound Events. And this show, Weddings Done Right Radio, came about because there is so much information about weddings and planning a wedding, and there's just a plethora of information out there. So what we thought we'd do is design this radio show, this podcast, for you, for the bride, the people that are getting married. And I'm very happy to have such great and amazing topics and guests coming up. And today we're going to talk about wedding coordination. And one of the biggest mistakes, the biggest wedding mistake that you can make is not hiring a wedding coordinator to assist you in some form of your wedding. Thinking a friend can do it is a recipe for disaster. Think about it. Your friends are there to party and celebrate and have a great time. The last thing they want to do is to direct your wedding reception or get to the venue early. But we're going to talk about that with my guest. And, you know, you guys think having a wedding coordinator is going to be super expensive. Oh my gosh, I am not Kim and Kanye. I can't afford a wedding planner. Think again. Yes, you can. You don't have to be Kim and Kanye. You can just be Mary and John. Seriously, everybody can afford to have one. The biggest mistake you can make is, you got to have one. If you can't afford it, you can. The biggest mistake is not getting one. So I'm so excited to have sitting next to me, Gabriella Cote. Hey, Gabriella.
Hey, Jody.
Gabriella Cote is Director of Ops for Vegas Private Dining and the President of Chameleon Wedding and Events. She is a wedding planner, and prior to launching her two businesses with her husband, she served as wedding reception catering manager for the Hilton at Lake Las Vegas, and they do a ton of weddings, the Hilton at Lake Las Vegas. And another property Gabriella's worked at that does a bunch of weddings is Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas. Yep. So Gabriella, she's got the cred, she's got the street cred, and she is also a teacher. She teaches at the International School of Hospitality. You teach wedding planning to...
Yep, wedding coordination and design.
Awesome. And TIZO is another great place where a lot of people study to become wedding and event planners. And Gabriella and I also, we've known each other for years, right? We worked together, lots of weddings.
10 years.
Oh my gosh, has it been 10 years?
Yeah, it's been 10 years.
And we're also very active in NACE, which is the National Association for Catering and Event Professionals. Yep. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and being involved in associations. So welcome. Finally got you on the show.
It's so exciting to be here.
I'm excited to have you because you are just know so much about weddings and events. And she's an author, by the way. Did I forget to tell you guys? She actually has a book that you guys can buy. Yep. It's on Kindle, so it's on Amazon. You can get this. It's called Las Vegas Weddings, Insider Secrets Revealed.
Yes.
So we'll talk a little bit about that too. So I got an author here. How cool is that? So let's get down to it. Get down to it. So here's my question. I'm going to come right off the bat.
Okay.
Is it wedding planner or wedding coordinator?
Depends on what you want.
Okay.
So the difference is wedding planner will do full wedding planning from the time that they get engaged. They can assist with pre-wedding celebrations all the way through the planning process for vendor selection, venue selection, things of that nature, even to the day of coordination and even afterwards, brunches, where wedding coordinator is there just for the day of.
Okay.
So that's a big difference.
Is it really day of? Is it month of?
It really is month of. Day of is because it really is.
You
really need to get involved, or as a wedding planner, get involved with the bride 30 days out just to know where they're at. Reach out to vendors, find out what, pre-wedding celebrations that they have, whether it's rehearsal, dinners, things of that nature. So it could be a month, yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that too as well. So this whole wedding planner, wedding coordinator, I see coordinators used a lot more than wedding planner. I'm seeing that more and more. When I did my research for you coming, I'm just seeing a lot of coordinating. So I think that a lot of girls are probably going in the direction of hiring somebody more like a month out.
Yes.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're on maybe a limited budget, the month of might be better than the full.
Full blown, yes.
Yeah.
Because it's more planning when you have a wedding planner than the day of. It's just you might need them from 10 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, not 12 months or 18 months in advance.
Got it. Now, some girls might think, and I talked about it in my opening. I'm like, oh, don't have your friend do it. Because it really truly is
It's
a
true.
recipe for a disaster. And I think, and again, I think a lot of reasons why brides may not use a wedding planner is because, and I got to be honest with you, I looked at a lot of videos before I brought you on doing my research. And one of the things that I did notice on some wedding planners is I found that they felt like they were going to take total control. Like it was their wedding day. So I think a lot of brides are afraid of that. So when you're choosing a wedding planner, you got to be aware of that.
They shouldn't be afraid. Wedding planners are there to make the bride and groom's lives easier. They don't lose any control working with a wedding planner. It's their day. That wedding planner is just there to advise and help them and give them advice along the way so that they could make more educated decisions and not to take any control away at all. The bride and groom are still first and foremost and actually the boss.
Right.
So
And
yeah,
it's their day.
it is their day.
Okay. So I think that maybe when they see some of these videos, maybe when they're shopping around for a wedding planner, that they should keep in mind that it's the reason why they're probably seeing the wedding planner go all out is because they're trying to sell themselves.
Well, that too, and when we get in our mode, when we're in the zone, we are doing everything that we possibly can to make sure that their day goes flawlessly. So we do get in a mode where it may seem like we're large and in charge, and we are for that day, but only because we're the champion for that bride and groom. And we want to make sure that everybody is there on time, everything is getting done on time, because ultimately, we don't want the bride and groom to have to worry about anything.
And that's the way it should be.
Absolutely.
And that's the way it should
Absolutely.
be. So we touched a little briefly on the different types of services for wedding planning. So kind of, again, you touch base on maybe two of them, but like there's the production or the wedding designer.
Yes.
Then I have like the full coordination, the month of coordination, and then there's the DIY coordinator.
Yes.
So if you can kind of briefly, the production or designer, kind of explain what it is and how early they get involved in the process. And
Production.
why you should hire one. Like,
that's a good question.
What kind of bride needs to have the production designer?
I've seen more and more productions and producers, wedding producers, and more wedding designers these days. I was a wedding designer as well. On the production side, that particular planner is involved in every aspect of the wedding, from working with vendors, but on a very detailed scope. So if you can imagine being a producer for a show like yourself, that's a wedding producer. So from getting all of the talent, from getting all of the vendors, from getting the venues and working each and every detail. And that is the one person that everyone will go to. Okay. So there's not going to, let me work with this vendor over here. No, they have to go to that wedding producer. It's putting on a show, basically.
So the bride that's looking for that kind of service would probably want to hire her or him, the designer, producer,
right,
the minute they get the ring.
Absolutely, because those producers there. And picking them up from the airport, bringing them to the hotel, from what are they doing? Are they going to go to dinners? Are they going to have spa days? Arranging all of that.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
it's a
they
lot more
work
involved.
and they work directly. Obviously, their client is their bride and groom. So they're basically the like you said, the production that puts it together for the bride and groom.
Right.
And they can also so a bride and groom would sit down with them ahead of time
Yes.
and plan out this whole vision of
Yes.
what they want.
From the venue, and they can go into a venue if the bride and groom has a very detailed vision of what their day looks like. When they go into a venue, they can say, okay, the ceilings are not going to be tall enough for that. You don't have enough space, or it's too big, so we're going to need to bring in some maybe elements, some props, some draping just to fill the room a little bit. So things of that nature, and that's what a producer is going to do.
Got it. And a producer works with a team.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes, and they have their own vendors that they typically like to work with that's going to, like their own vendors for entertainment, their own vendors for lighting, their own vendors for floral, because they need to work with someone who they feel comfortable with, that they know that it's going to do the best job for that bride and groom.
Okay. And then the full coordination. So we talked about the production person. So basically, wait, let me stop for a second. So a Kim and Kanye
Would have a producer.
would have a production
Yes.
designer. Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Sofia Vergara
Yes.
and those are the kind of people that would do that. Okay. So then talk to me a little bit about now the full coordination.
So most wedding planners, if that's what they want to specialize in, will do full coordination or what we call a comprehensive package. And they will guide that bride and groom along the way throughout 12 months or 18 months worth of planning, from venue selection to even selecting the venue for rehearsal dinners, all of that. And they overlap, but a producer is going to be more involved in every aspect where the wedding planner may not. A wedding planner may allow the bride and groom to bring in their own vendors, people that, they want to work with after, that planner gives them the best advice on who to select.
Got it. And maybe and again, I know a little bit about, this to be very dangerous. So,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah. But like also full coordination, I guess that wedding planner is not, like you just mentioned, is not so much involved in the moving parts, but really allows their vendor to kind of work with that bride.
Right.
Like I'm handing you off to Susie from ABC Design, who's going to work with you, but she's involved in the process. Where in the production designer, there is no Susie, you're dealing with, Marianne.
One person.
One person.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Now, the month of coordination, again, we kind of touched on, but once again, just that's about 30 days out. That seems to be a very popular choice right now.
It is. I've been involved with brides even sooner than that, maybe 60 days out. Just because if they have a lot of moving parts to their wedding, I like to be more involved on like, where is it going? Where are we at? But 30 days out is pretty good for day of coordination.
Because there really is no such thing. I mean, there is such a thing, but there really isn't no such thing as a day of coordinating.
Right.
I mean, nobody's coming in
that day
of.
Yeah, that would be scary.
Yeah, because you've had situations, I mean, you've come to the rescue for many people that have decided we were going to do a day of coordinator.
And at the last minute, what they were going to have is someone, a family member or friend step in and, hey, do this for me, do that for me. And then all of a sudden that person's missing in action because they're involved in the wedding.
Yeah. Many times, being on the entertainment side and maybe going to the reception, I've seen brides' moms, the mother of the bride or or miss their own daughter's wedding because they had to be at the restaurant to drop off the tchotchkes.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
and we, you and I,
Italian
we've seen it all.
Tchotchkes. But I'm talking about, the knives with the ribbon on it. And, we got to have the deco here in Vegas. It's always the deco cards.
Or the shot glasses.
Yes, the shot glasses. We're not making fun of them. We're just telling you.
No,
it's the
that's
shot
the norm.
glasses, the deco cards, the dice.
Yes.
The little dice. But yeah, it's definitely. I'm with you. I think it's really important that the brides understand that this is not a good choice.
No, not by no. And then also with that, if it's your mom or if it's a good friend of yours, you don't want them to miss anything. You want them to relax. You want them to be there to enjoy the celebration, to watch everything. You don't want them to be trying to put centerpieces together or something like that and rush trying to get ready and then miss part of someone walking down the aisle, because I've seen that happen many times.
Wow. I've also seen where they come in late, where they just like, they miss after the ceremony, they miss everything because they've got to be the ones that head over to the restaurant because they're the ones that have to meet the DJ to make sure the DJ got there in time, or
the photo booth. Set up.
We're on we're at the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's so, I mean, for the money that it costs to just have somebody, to hire a professional, definitely worth it.
The best investment. I've had a student say that. I had a student who I asked her, are you married? She said yes. And I said, is there anything that you could change, about your day? She says, hire a wedding planner, because I was so worried about everything. And I didn't have one, and I had to go and set up the tables and things like that, and I just wanted to relax. And I think that's the biggest thing, is having that peace of mind.
Oh, I think so too, because the last thing you want as a bride is to worry about it. That's why you're not DJing your own wedding, right? You pay a DJ to be there to DJ. You pay a photographer to take photos of your wedding. Hopefully, you guys are paying videographers to capture the memories.
Yes.
Isn't that
timeless? It's timeless.
It really is. And it's and not to change the subject, but it's so sad because lots and lots of brides aren't going to the videotape anymore like they used to.
No.
I mean, I see that as a DJ, an MC, a director. I see that at a lot of our events, and that's like one of my big pet peeves, is like the day flies by so fast.
It really does. And I'll tell a brief story that happened. This was way back in the day when I was at the Rio Wedding Chapels, and I had a small, we had chapels there, so small weddings, about 30 minutes, nothing big, but we always ran a tape this is when VHS was the big thing. And I had a bride and groom who had pictures, and the groom called me, I would say 6 months later, and says, listen, do you still have the tape for our ceremony? And I said, well, you know what, let me find out from, our vendor and see if they still have it. He says, yeah, it's really important to me. I have the pictures. Thank you so much. But my bride passed away. And I want a video of our ceremony when we got married. And I was just devastated. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, yes, I'll make sure to. And we did, because they archived it, but yeah.
I mean, that's why it's so important. I mean, people pass away and it's really, if you're spending all this money, here's the thing, you're spending all this money on this amazing wedding, and it truly is one way of bringing it back to life, to see, to hear. Because you can see people, on a photo, you can see everything, but you can hear it. You're transformed back.
Yes.
So,
the toast, especially, because you can't capture that on film, from a picture.
Absolutely.
You can't hear the inflection and the words and that people are saying.
And having a wedding planner is somebody who's going to be there to kind of coordinate those efforts with a videographer or with a photographer. A lot of times, you are the point person at a wedding wedding reception that the vendors will go to. Mm-hmm. And you need to be there at the wedding reception. You don't go, you don't leave. Okay, well, you're all here. Goodbye. See ya. We're out. Like, you need that. Who's going to get, my favorite. Who takes the gifts at the end of the night? Oh my gosh.
And
like,
make
everybody's
sure they're
fighting.
taken up to the room.
Exactly. Who's going to call the bellman? Who's going to, it's always who's going to watch the envelopes. I mean, nowadays we don't live in a very safe environment. You cannot leave the money bag or the envelopes by a door.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. You have to be really mindful of that. And for the wedding planner, as far as with the videographer and photographers, we're watching the timeline. So we know exactly when certain special moments are taking place. And we're the ones who make sure that the videographer and the photographer are going to capture it. Mm-hmm. Hey, we're going to do, their first dance now. You need to be in place. Or, hey, now it's the mother-son dance. You need to be in place. They're going to do their toast. So, and they don't want to miss those special moments either, but they may get caught doing something else. So we're here to make sure that nothing is missed.
And what's nice about you guys, or nice about people that are paid planners that are there, paid services, is that you're not drinking the alcohol.
No.
You're totally
We're not
sober.
supposed to be, no.
You are sober. your friend who is helping, if you're going to go the route of a friend, they're snockered. I mean,
by cocktail hour, yes.
Oh, well, because they have the responsibility of being the wedding planner, so they're like, got her down the aisle.
That down real quick. Let me get another one. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So when it comes to the wedding reception, and the DJ is looking for somebody, and they go to the friend, and the friend's like, I don't know.
It's
Can I have
over
another
there.
one? Are you the bartender? You're wearing a tie. Can I have another drink? I mean,
it's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
So I mean, we're the stone cold sober people at the party. To keep it on point.
And enticed many times, but no.
All of us have. Isn't that
no. Yeah.
And that's something they need to know too. Brides need to know that we're not there to, I mean, we're there for you. We're there to make your day special, but we're not there. Don't worry about, getting us drunk. So long as we have water, we're fine.
We're good.
Good. Water is good, or a soft drink, whatever. Yes. No, we won't do a shot with you. If we're true professionals, we'll not do shots with you. No. Body shots? No, only kidding.
And we don't mean any offense by it either. So, yeah.
And people, brides do get a little offended by that.
Yeah.
They do. So please don't get offended if you offer us drinks and we don't take them. It's you should be happy that we don't. So how well, we talked about it a little bit. The production aspect, we both agreed. The minute you get the ring, the minute you have the groom, the minute you have a date in mind, if you're the kind of person that wants that production designer, you need to contact them ASAP because the big names, as we talked about, get booked pretty quickly.
Same goes for wedding planner.
Yeah, okay.
Same goes for a wedding planner. Yeah, because they're going to be with you throughout the whole experience. So 12 months, 18 months in advance, they're going to help you along the way. And there's different aspects of what they're going to be doing on a monthly basis for you. So, yeah.
So, for example, like, does something come to your mind when you say, like, how many months out? Do you want to give an example?
I would say 12 months. 12 months is a year out is the norm.
Got it.
I've seen engagements 18 months. That used to be the norm.
So, like, in the planning scope on your calendar, the planner's calendar, you're working with Marianne and John, and like they hire you a year out. Like, do you wait? Like, okay, so you have a little chart for each client.
Yes.
3 months out, we need to find.
Yes.
Like, or 3 months once they've hired you. Like you're how many months? 9 months away from the wedding.
Right.
We're 9 months away from the wedding. So Marianne and John, here are my suggestions for a photographer.
I call it homework.
Okay.
You have homework, so I send them out a checklist, and it starts. You're getting closer. It goes from 12 months to 1 week, like 7 weeks out. We're 7 weeks out now, and they have homework to do. Meaning, hey, let's think about doing this now. For example, the first phase is research. So tell me your vision. Let's set your budget. Let's do your guest list. And then let's find a venue, because it doesn't make any sense to find a venue if you don't have the budget for that, or you don't know how many guests you're going to have. So it all goes in stages, and you don't want to do too much too soon.
Got it. So do brides realistically have an idea of what budget is? I mean, you deal with them. No. Okay. No. They don't. So does it make sense for them to tell you like their venue idea first, and then that kind of gives you an idea of their budget? Like, because nobody.
It's helpful. Anything helps. At the end of the day, a lot of times they don't know. I have no idea about my budget. Well, how much do you see yourself spending? How many guests are you intending on having? If they know their venue already, that's fantastic. I'm going to tell you exactly how much per person that particular venue is. So all those things help. But really at the end of the day, and then if they are not the ones that are paying for it and parents are paying for it, they need to be involved in the decision making as well.
Okay, so you get parents involved with the planner.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
That's got to be interesting.
It's a fun dynamic. It's a fun dynamic.
Really? Because do the parents get the whole wedding planning idea, or are they old school? Like, we could do it ourselves?
They're old school, but I think more and more parents are becoming even more educated, as well as brides and grooms, in how helpful a wedding planner is.
Now, where does one go to find a wedding planner?
First and foremost, go to your friends and family members who have gotten married and have used a wedding planner. Find out from them what was helpful. Find out from them, where did they find this wedding planner? Can I hire her or him? And also different associations, and then different wedding websites such as The Knot, Wedding Wire. They're also going to feature wedding planners.
Now, do coming from your catering background, we kind of talked about this, but coming from your catering background, do caterers recommend like wedding planners?
Yes.
Caterers can't. So
They
so
can.
if you're having your wedding at Caesars, we'll throw that out there, or Hilton, Lake Las Vegas, they can make a recommendation on a planner.
They can. And the reason being is because a lot of times brides and grooms think that the catering manager is their wedding planner.
Yes.
And really, the catering manager is there to make sure that your food goes out on time, that the settings are done right, that all the forks are in place and they're in the right place, to make sure that the servers are there, and to make sure the wedding cake gets there on time. So they're all about the food and beverage.
So even though there are places, country clubs are a perfect example of this. They're notorious for this. These all-inclusive country clubs or places that have garden names in them. They tell people, I'm not singling anybody out, but there's a lot of garden places all over the world.
There is.
They tell people that we will give you a wedding coordinator. But again, that coordinator isn't the person. You said you have the homework. You mentioned you go from this, from 100 pages down to 1 page or 3 pages. These people at these places, they say they do it, but they don't.
They're just there for that venue. So at the end of the day, yeah, they care about the bride and groom, but really it's about that venue. This is what you can do here. So if that bride and groom has any other questions as far as off property, they can't assist with that. That's not their job.
And when you say that they really care about what happens on their property, they're not fielding those too many of those etiquette questions when it comes to family or any. I mean, again, they're really focused more on property.
And don't get me wrong, they are very informative. And
Sure.
They've been doing this a long time as well, but we get into the mindset when we're in those all-inclusive areas that this is your package. This is what comes in your package. I can tell you all about what's in the package, and I'm going to make sure that your guests are seated a half an hour prior. I get you down the aisle. Here's your food and beverage. But anything other than, hopefully they can tell them about their marriage license. Oh, will you get your marriage? And I've had that happen where there's been venues that I don't know, well, you figure that out, go to Clark County, where they don't know about how to get the marriage license. They don't know what they need in order to get it. They don't know how to get their name changed afterwards and the documentation. So
very good points. Didn't even think about that part. Like that stuff. I never even thought about that. So that's very cool. I was going to say, and I kind of lost my train of thought here before I move on to my next question. That's okay. It'll come back to me. How do you know you found the right planner to work with? How do you know that you found that right person?
When you like them.
Okay.
That's huge.
Okay.
If you don't like your wedding planner, that's not the right fit for you. And there are people who go through the whole process with someone who they really like, oh, at the end of the day, I could take her or leave her.
Well, how's it? I mean, it's going to be kind of hard. I mean, I understand what you're saying. You got to like the person that you're working with.
Definitely.
But you might not know that right away. Like right away on the phone, they might bedazzle you. And then when you start working with them, you're like, ugh.
Well, it's like anything else. Even with planners, even when you're shopping for a doctor or what have you, you talk to them on the phone and you're like, oh, are they smiling at me through the phone? I know that sounds really weird, but it is such a thing. No. How are they personable? Are they listening? That is the biggest thing. For us as wedding planners, we need to be able to listen because we wear many hats. We're therapists, we're counselors, we're planners, we're magicians. And if we can't listen to our bride and groom of their needs and their wants too, that's not good. If we always have opinions, that's something that's when you know you have a bad planner. When you hear nothing but opinions and no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, or anything that's negative from a planner, like they're not helping you. That is our job, is to make sure that the bride and groom feel like we're assisting them, that we're making their lives easy.
And that they're still in control.
And they're in control.
Because that's, I think, the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest, in all the years that I've been in the wedding industry, I think that's the biggest negative, is that I think the brides really, truly feel that they're not going to be in control.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a perception. And it's one of the reasons why we're here having this show and we're having this discussion because brides need to get it out of their head.
Yeah. It's true.
I noticed a lot when I was researching, looking for a planner. I looked at a lot of websites. And one of the things that I've noticed now is that a lot of our planners are starting to put a lot of personal information about themselves, like on their bios. And I don't mean like the bio that I had for you. I mean that, Gabriella has 2 dogs named Smokey and Bandit. She loves pizza. She, The Notebook is her favorite movie.
Yes.
She, eats Captain Crunch for breakfast. I'm noticing that. Is that a way of just connecting?
Connecting with the bride and groom, and also so that we can seem real. A lot of times people don't think, brides and grooms don't think that we're real, like we're just this is how we are, we're very straight and forward, or what they see on TV as far as the wedding planner with J-Lo is concerned. No, we're real people, and some of us may be married with children, some of us may be single, and some of us have dogs, but we can relate somehow, some way. And every planner is not for everyone. So having those personal information on there is really helpful for that bride and groom to say, oh, okay.
So that's something a bride and groom should possibly even look for.
Yes.
When finding a planner, just, to see
their personality. It shows a little bit about their personality.
Yeah, I think that's very, very important because this person's going to be partying with you, yes. But creating the party, on the biggest day of your life.
Yeah, and we end up becoming family.
I've noticed that too. Doing the research,
so.
doing my research, and even just me being in the wedding business with certain clients, that you're correct. They become members of your family. Like you'll always remember where you were on October 10th of 2014.
Right.
I was at the JW Marriott. I was working with, Francine and Marianne or, whatever.
Yep.
And by the way, I said Francine and Marianne because we also do gay weddings all the time. Same-sex marriages are huge.
Very much
and,
so.
And you plan same-sex weddings just the same way. I didn't want to single out, same-sex, because it doesn't matter.
No,
same-sex matters, and a regular marriage doesn't matter. It's a wedding. It's
absolutely,
and
it's love. So,
it's love is love. So absolutely. So is it important the number of weddings a year your planner works? Like, should you be afraid to hire a wedding planner that's super busy?
It depends on their staff. So if they have the staff to assist, if they're going to be planning multiple weddings, then it really wouldn't matter. But I think that's a really good question because a lot of times people are always thinking that, we plan weddings every single day. You don't want a wedding planner that can't give you the time, that can't give you the attention that you deserve on your day. And it's up to really that wedding planner to determine how many weddings can I realistically handle, especially if it's just me. If you have a team of other wedding planners, like some companies do, they can assign a wedding planner to that particular bride, especially during the busiest seasons, the busiest wedding seasons. So, yeah.
So it's kind of like a DJ company. You got your single op and you have your multi-op.
Right.
And the same thing goes with wedding planning. You've got
same thing goes with
the
wedding
single
planning.
wedding planner. And then you have the multi-op.
Right.
And if you want, like, say, the Gabriella Cote, for example, of the multi-op, then you probably pay a little bit more to have the headliner.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah. If you want myself
Sure.
to plan your wedding, it'll be a lot different cost as far as if you're going to have one of my
one of your the next
girls.
one of your producers just below you.
Right.
And that's something brides need to know.
Absolutely.
So you can go for the owner, or you can go, with the
really
protege.
important.
Maybe that's
the
a better
protege,
word.
yes.
The protege, right?
Yes.
The protege.
Yes.
That would probably be a better word. Assistant. I don't want to say assistant
true.
planner.
No, sometimes they're junior planners, senior planners. So
Got it.
Yeah.
And like other companies, for example, there are big photography companies, there are big DJ companies. There are big wedding planning companies, aren't there? Out there?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
That do have the
yes, that have the multi have multiple planners that work for them.
So it's safe to say, I mean, a Colin Cowie, for example, there's like, everybody knows him because he's a celeb, or David Tutara.
David Tutara, yep.
Okay, they would, like, if you want David, it would be X amount of money, but underneath David, he has the proteges or the producers that work on that he's personally trained. Got it. So just like that. Cool.
Yes.
So what I was going to ask you, how important is having a wedding planner when you're having a destination wedding? And I don't necessarily mean Las Vegas. It could be Mexico. It could be Italy. It could be, how important is it that if you're not getting, I mean, it's important when you get married in your own town. I would think it's even more important when you're traveling.
Absolutely.
Why?
There's so many different things. Every state, even the United States, is different as far as their marital laws. Same thing goes if you're going overseas or if you're going to Hawaii. There's different etiquette that's involved. And you really, is helpful to have a wedding planner that's going to do all the research for you so you're not spending countless hours saying, okay, what do I need? What documentation do I need? How about transportation? Things of that nature. So that wedding planner is going to do all of the legwork for you. Yes, you can get married. This is what you need as far as documentation. You need to get a blood test. You have to be in the country a particular time period. Now let's find vendors for you. So you're going to need florists. You're going to need to find a venue. Let's find some place that's going to be in close proximity to the hotel. People staying. Where are people staying?
That's
so there's
biggie.
a lot.
That's a biggie. Close proximity to the hotel. You hit the nail on the head. We're based out of Vegas. And isn't it amazing how people think that Caesar's Palace and maybe like Maggiano's on a map look like they're really close together?
I can walk there. I can walk there.
Even going to the Wynn, for example. You got
Yes.
the Wynn, which is across the street from Maggiano's, and people are like, they
Yes.
think that they can do it, that they don't need transportation.
Right.
Maps can be very deceiving.
Yes. Yes.
So I think that's an excellent point. That's a question that I would say would be a no-brainer. I think that if any bride is having a destination wedding and they don't live in this, obviously they don't live in the city, quote, destination wedding, that it would be a no-brainer to pick up the phone and just have that person, even if you hire them for the month out.
Right.
Or there was another service like a DIY, which I didn't touch base with you, but like where you just hire a coordinator and they make referrals for you.
Yes.
You just like pay a flat fee and they send you a notebook and here's.
That's what they do is they send you a Rolodex of vendors. This is what you need. And then you, as the bride and groom, will go ahead and call these vendors based on the suggestion of that planner.
Right. And then if you decide to use that planner service, they probably credit you what you've paid for them to do the research.
Yes. They're gonna charge a fee. So whatever that fee is, whether it's flat or hourly, and then so it's a really separate service.
Right. Yeah. Because I was noticing that is very popular for some for a destination.
Yes, because they may hire a coordinator that's there in that particular location. So here it's so funny because Vegas is so big and there's so much. A lot of people will come here sight unseen.
Yes.
So having a wedding planner or hiring a wedding planner just to do the site inspections and send back pictures, and it's really, really important because I've had weddings which I've had to do for people who booked another venue, got there the day of or the day before rather, and saw it and was like, oh my God, it looks nothing like what it was supposed to on the website.
Very much so. When you can't get to, absolutely. How many chapel horror stories have we heard? Oh my gosh, and you find out the chapel is next to like, a Fleabag motel, or a crack den on like all the way down Las Vegas Boulevard.
It doesn't look like the picture.
Exactly.
That's happened many times.
Exactly.
Many times.
So that's why it's really, even more so that you need to hire somebody like that.
To take a look at it, to see it.
Absolutely. How do you go about selecting the best local professionals for your couples to work with? Do companies come to you? Do you how do you find the best vendors for your brides?
I'm so fortunate. I'm really lucky. I know a lot of people.
You do.
But it's funny because I go by a lot by reputation. And I've had the fortune to work with a lot of vendors because of the places that I've worked. And anytime a hotel or venue has a preferred vendors list, take notice of it. There's a reason why people are on preferred vendors list, because the fact that their reputation exceeds them. They've done a great job. They're always professional. They're always punctual. I look at all of those things. Even if I'm not working off of a preferred vendor list, I want to find out if I don't already know them, which I know so many people, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I know a lot of people. So I know if I haven't heard of someone, I'm going to check them out. Like, I've never heard of that person. Let me go see their website.
Sure.
The industry professional, see her. I know how they get their pricing terms. I know how they go about the work. What philosophy on things? Very honest. Where they have testimonials. Yelp, Walmart, and to see if they have reviews. Did they have any bad reviews? How did they handle those reviews? Those kind of things. So I'm kind of like a PI. I'll check them out.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if a bride and groom come to you and they say, listen, Gabby, or, any wedding planner, I really want to use this particular company, and you've never worked with them before.
Yes.
Do you, I mean, wouldn't it behoove the company to reach out to you first, or have you, you recently had a situation.
I did. Could
we kind of talk about it?
Yeah, we can kind of talk about it.
So
all names have been changed to protect the innocent.
There you go.
So what I had was, it was a small wedding, and they had hired a particular videographer based on the recommendation from their photographer because they were friends.
Okay, so far that's going okay.
That was cool. That was
recommendation.
Great.
Okay.
So the videographer ended up being missing in action for about a week. So we did the walkthrough. And then within that week, I needed all the documentation, business license, insurance. It's very important to have those things to, show the venues. So person would never get back in contact with me. So I'm like, ruh-roh, where are you? Not only was I trying to get in contact with that vendor, also the photographers, the bride and groom. So for a week, if the wedding is coming up in the week, you should be able to be contacted.
Yeah.
Person was MIA. We were talking days before the wedding, still a no-show. And I'm like, video. This is really important. And they wanted a videographer for all day, not just part of the reception.
Sure.
Video was very important to this bride and groom. They've already paid money.
Wow.
So I went ahead and started researching this particular videographer and pulling up like, okay, let me pull up Yelp. Found a scathing remark about this videographer. And I said, listen, we're down to the wire. We're days out from the wedding. We need to look other places for a videographer. So, and that's what ends up happening. And I've met this videographer, never heard of him at all.
Isn't it weird that he wouldn't come in contact with you? I would think I'm on the vendor side. When I'm working with a bride and groom and they say I'm working with a wedding planner, I know me as a vendor, I'd want to go out of my way to take you out to Starbucks or take you out for coffee and talk to you about.
Jody.
Well, no, I think it's about. They're all shaking their head.
Professional.
Well, they're all shaking their head in the studio, going, yeah, you would do that. But that's
not
just
every
common
vendor.
sense.
No, actually, not for a lot of vendors. They're not used to working with wedding planners.
But what about the planner? I mean, it shouldn't be the planner's responsibility necessarily to track them down. I mean, I would think this is a perfect. We talked about how does a vendor get to be one of your preferred vendors. Well, here's the perfect example. I've never worked with this particular planner, let's say, and now I have an opportunity to work with you. I'm going to say, hey, Gabriella, we're working together on Steve and Mary Ann's wedding. Can I take you out for coffee at Starbucks and we can just kind of compare notes?
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Wow.
Doesn't happen.
Okay. Wow. That's crazy. So long story short, because you know a lot of people, because this is where it comes, why it's important to be part of a trade association.
Yes.
Because when situations like this come about and then you want to meet other wedding and event professionals, you can go to some of the biggies. You mentioned NACE.
NACE, National Association of Catering and Events.
I'm going to say the International Special Events Society.
Yes,
I'm not going to nickname it.
Right.
Just you guys who are listening, figure it out. International Special Events Society.
Yes.
Association of Bridal Consultants.
Yes.
I mean, I know as a disc jockey, I have to be a member of the ADJA, but I think that your wedding planner should be part of something that's...
Right. Wedding Industry Professionals Association is huge.
That's the WIPA.
That's the WIPA Association. And yes, part of that as well, and that you have a lot of local wedding planners as well as vendors.
Why should a wedding planner be a part? Why should they pay association fees and association money to be part of an association in their industry?
Because it gives them an opportunity to network with like-minded people, as well as the education is the biggest part, because you may think you know everything about your craft, but you might find that there's another wedding planner out there that's doing something unique that you've never been exposed to before. That's a great way to educate yourself. Or maybe you have a problem, you're like trying to solve it. Going to an association event and just, kicking back and
absolutely. I think just the benefits of being able to network not only with your local, but your national,
right,
or sometimes international.
Absolutely, because everybody does everything different. The way that we do weddings on the West Coast may not be the way we do it on the East Coast. So, yeah.
And I think that is extremely important that when you do hire a wedding planner, wedding coordinator, wedding, production person, that you need to look to see if they're part of an association, because that means that they take their industry
very seriously.
Exactly.
Very seriously.
And do they go to the national conventions? Or do they just go to the local association meetings? I mean, gosh, you and I have
educated.
Exactly. You and I have gone to many cities where we go to these events to educate ourselves even better, to learn the latest trends and to meet David Tutera.
And also you have a passion for it. You want your wedding planner to have a passion for the business, not just to go through the motions because, we're passionate about what we do. And I think that's what really sets us apart.
Exactly. And I think that absolutely, it definitely does. How important is a strong social media presence when they choose a wedding coordinator? Like I'm talking Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram. Those seem to be the Pinsta. We call them Pinsta face. Pinsta face.
Yes.
If you're not on Pinsta face, it's important.
It really is important to even know what they are, because a lot of brides and grooms, like I said, are very educated, and a lot of brides spend the majority of their time on Pinterest.
They do.
So, and they get to, put their boards together. I love it when they have a Pinterest board, because it really shows me how much they're thinking about their theme and their vision, and it puts their ideas all in one, and you can see it and you get ideas, especially if you're a wedding designer. Designer does all the concept of the wedding and designs the whole look and feel and has all the five senses come into play when they're designing, all the colors, all the furniture. So it's really important for them to have a Pinterest board to go off of to see exactly what's the personality of the couple.
Now, what about you as the planner? How important it is for you all to have a Pinterest board?
Oh, we show our work that way. We show different ideas. It shows our creativity when we have a Pinterest board or when we're on social media, like when we're tweeting, because we may see things that are like, oh, that's really unique. Look at that ceremony structure, and we tweet about that and how we feel. Even blogging, which I must say I'm terrible at, but I'm learning.
No, you're getting there. Yeah, no.
So,
it's very time consuming, ladies and gentlemen. It's very time consuming to be a blogger. Trust me.
It is.
But yeah, it is important to showcase your events.
It really is,
and maybe important for a bride to see your style. But then again, I look at that and go, it's the same thing as a DJ. Like, what are you going to play at my wedding?
Right.
Well, it's your wedding. It's your style. It's your day. You shouldn't look at my, you shouldn't come to a wedding. You shouldn't come see me at a wedding, because what you're going to see at this wedding may not reflect what you're looking for as the client. Same thing with you.
Same thing.
I'm not going to invite you to the Hilton at Lake Las Vegas to see one of my weddings or pop in, because maybe this isn't what you're looking for.
Right. Because I might be doing a vintage wedding that day and you might be a modern bride.
Right.
So, yeah, it's different. I mean, at least you can see the professionalism of the work.
Right.
But a lot of people, especially wedding planners, will get caught up more on the style. And you have so many different brides out there that have different personalities. So.
Absolutely. And social media isn't going away, folks.
No.
It's never going to go away. It's getting now we've got Periscope, where you can actually take.
Very excited about that.
Yeah, Periscope is great, where you can actually, for a little bit, take a bride and groom or take the universe, the world, and for like maybe 5 minutes, hey, I'm Gabriella. I'm
Yep.
here at, the Mirage,
Yep.
and we're getting ready to set up for Sam and Diane's fabulous Las Vegas wedding.
Yep.
I'm at the pool. I mean, that's kind of cool. Those are cool little
Yeah.
things. So those are probably very important when brides are selecting a vendor, like, a wedding planner.
Right. Absolutely, because they're showing what they do. This is what I do. This is the time that I dedicate to my craft, and showing how we set up things, because it's not all about the pretty. It's all about the work behind the scenes, because there's a lot.
And I think it's important too that when we talk about the social media, that our planners are social media savvy, because our brides are.
Oh, yes, very
And
much
communication now is done.
Very much so.
Gone are the days when we used to fax things, or now.
Do we still fax?
No, we don't. I had to fax something the other day, and I had to call up the office and go, fax number? I don't have a fax machine. I scan it.
Send
Exactly.
it to me. Yeah.
And I'm not signing up for e-fax to send 3 pages. Get with the technology. But that also should send a signal to a bride that if your planner isn't social media savvy, maybe they're not too savvy in other ways.
Right. Well, it is true, yes and no. It really depends on what's important. What's important to that bride and groom. It may not be important to them. I think as a wedding planner is really helpful. They don't have to get on all the different mediums, but just knowing a couple of them.
Yeah.
Because it is true. You have brides that are on social media, and that's how they do their research.
And a lot of the millennials are very texty.
Very
texty. And that's good. Hey, if that's how you communicate, it's all good. We were at Wedding MBA together.
Yes.
And that's a lot of what they talked about.
Yeah. Snapchatting with your bride.
Or periscoping or Skyping, especially these destination weddings are huge.
If you have a bride from the UK and you need to communicate with them, whether it's Skype or whether it's Zoom, there's a lot of different mediums out there that you can use. Any way to communicate with your couples.
Absolutely.
And face-to-face is great.
So we're kind of getting toward the end here. I'm getting the signal. Getting the signal. Let me ask you, what are some of the trends that you're seeing in 2016 for weddings? Are you seeing anything right now?
The new colors are really blowing people's minds, because it's a cross between the baby colors, the baby blue and the baby pink.
Yeah, I saw that.
So some people can't wrap their heads around it. There's going to be a lot of brides and grooms, mostly the brides, that are really going to gravitate towards that soft pink now, or rose quartz as they're calling it.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
So that's kind of different. Trends, food and beverage, you still have stations out there. That's a nice trend. I was just on a site visit where we're talking more of a rehearsal dinners. Rehearsal dinners are making a comeback. I love that.
Right, because that works for you.
That works great for me. And it's nice to see. It's nice to see rehearsal dinners are becoming a thing, even as big as the wedding. So brides and grooms should keep that in mind. It's a great opportunity.
Now, who pays for a rehearsal dinner generally?
Etiquette-wise, it's supposed to be the groom's family.
That's what I thought.
Yes. So, and that's what it was, the in-laws taking them on a site visit to look at rehearsal dinners.
Nice.
Places. So rehearsal dinners are making a comeback. Stations are still really are out there. And then the trend is all about the bride and groom.
Yeah.
What they want. If they're a vintage bride, they're a vintage bride. If they're, more of a bling bride, they're going to be a bling bride, no matter what's happening.
I don't think you should let trends influence what you want to do. I mean, it's great to see what's out there and what is trending, because that's how you get ideas. But you shouldn't, try to mimic. And again, I'll use Kim and Kanye for example. You shouldn't try to mimic that if that's not your style. Just because Kim and Kanye had it and Joe and Sophia had it doesn't mean that you needed to. You need to do what's best for you.
Couples need to stay authentic, stay real, because you have family and friends that know you. And they're going to expect a certain thing from you because they know you. So if they see something that's totally different from your normal personality as a couple.
And I've seen brides, staying authentic to who they are, as a midnight snack, bring in and out.
Yeah,
because they love In-N-Out Burger, and they've brought in the midnight snack or the 11 o'clock, the last hour of the wedding. Do you see a guy dressed in In-N-Out clothes,
or a food truck? I love the food truck.
The food truck. That's huge,
Love the food
especially
truck
on their way out. I've seen the food truck in the parking lot of a country club, and they were serving donuts and coffee.
Donuts and coffee is the best.
I see.
Or latte or frozen lattes.
Yeah. That is very, very cool. So, if you can do that, do it. And as we, again, wind down, I always ask my guests on Weddings Done Right to give us one big piece of advice for the listeners. If you have to, what's that one piece of advice you'd like to give to a bride, a groom, maybe newlyweds that are listening to the show? What would you tell them as a planner? What would you tell them?
Gosh, my biggest thing, because it's still very fresh, is
still fresh.
First off, if you have something that's very important to you, one of the elements of your wedding, if it's photography, if it's videography, if those two especially, then do not budget wisely for it. If you don't have the budget for it, then you really, really need to consider your options when it comes to that. Because if you try to go to a friend, or a friend of mine can take pictures for me, or a friend of a friend can take pictures for me, they may not be professionals. And if that's truly you want to capture those moments, those special moments of your day, don't skimp when it comes to those things. And it doesn't necessarily have to be photography and videography. And then do your research on that vendor. Don't just go on the price and say, I'm going with that. Yeah. Make sure you do your due diligence. Find out if they have a business license. Find out if they have a insurance. Find out if they have referrals. Talk to someone. Don't just trust, they said they knew that person. No. Do the research. Yeah, do the research. Because at the end of the day, you're going to end up paying. And you're going to be paying for someone else. And
there's no reason in the world for people nowadays not to have maybe even a YouTube channel, a vendor. Or like you said, we talked about Wedding Wire, getting those Wedding Wire or not reviews. Right. I mean, they're out there.
Right. And if you see a bad review on a vendor, find out. Call them up. Say,
it's not the end of the world.
No.
It's not. No. You don't want a vendor who has maybe 5.0 reviews across the board, because nobody's perfect.
It may not be realistic. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Nobody is perfect. Everybody's done something here or there.
But it's how they handle the situation, which is everything.
And let's face it, there are people out in this world that will not give a 5.0, no matter how awesome and amazing that wedding is. They will they're just not going to give a 5-star review. They'll give a 4.5 or a 4. Right. So you got to keep that in mind, and weigh out the options.
Yep, absolutely.
So Gabriella, how does one get in touch with you? Are you on Twitter, Facebook? Do you website?
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. They can reach me by Vegas Private Dining. They can reach me from my that website, which is www.vegasprivatedining.com. And
on Twitter, who are you on Twitter?
I'm Gabriella Cote on Twitter.
Wow, there you go. We love our Twitter here. We love the tweets.
That's right.
All right, Gabriella, thank you so much for being here. What a great show. Lots of great advice.
Thank you for having me.
Give the brides about a planner. You definitely need to get a planner.
Definitely need to get a planner.
Want to let you ladies and gentlemen know, the people that are listening to the show, that we need your reviews. We need you to review us. I know that maybe you might not give me 5 stars, but that's okay. I can live with that. You heard that. But we definitely want you to review the show. Tell a friend. Tell somebody in the industry about Weddings Done Right Radio, the how-to for the I Do. We are on iTunes and we are on YouTube, and I think we're on SoundCloud, but we're all over the place. So just Google us and we're here. I am Jody Harris. You can find me on Twitter at Jody Harris. I'm also on Instagram, Jody Harris Vegas. So thank you guys. Thank you again, Gabriella.
Thank you.
Make it fantastic, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll be back with another show real soon. Thank you.